Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Gridiron 2022. Dr. Ron Poniewasz and Professor Larry Kelly. We are your Gridiron staff, your award-winning Gridiron staff. And Larry Kelly is the Neshannock varsity baseball coach and a member of the Luxembourg, Garbett, Kelly, and George law firm. And as always, we welcome Larry aboard and thank him for joining us. Again, our award-winning Gridiron staff.
Where's my plaque? Where's my plaque that we won as an award-winning journalist? I'm still waiting. Yes? No? Is it coming? Is the plaque coming? It's a simple question, Mr. Poniewasz. Yes or no?
Well, what we have is we have a sheet of paper in a folder. You know, I would imagine you got to buy the plaque. So
well, whatever. Something up. I mean, I need proof that I won. I got a lot of friends that, you know, say you won something. You got to have proof, because proof's in the pudding. I want to put it up on a wall. So send one of your people, or can I send one of mine to the Newcastle News tomorrow and pick it up?
We've got both of them. We got football and basketball. Don't forget. Let's not sell anything short.
No, I have my plaque for basketball. So I need my football spoils.
Because where have you been? We were award-winning last year for both sports, football and basketball. That's why I say I've got both of them here.
Well, no, I have a plaque for the basketball. For who?
We won, yeah, but I'm saying we won two last year. So okay. In addition to the one that you have, you're going to get two. You're going to get a football one and a basketball one.
Oh, okay.
So you'll have.
I'm a Triple Crown winner. Is that what you're saying?
I'm saying that. I'll draw a map next time, Larry.
You know, they don't want to hear about all the awards that we've won. They want to hear about the athlete of the week, Mr. Stanley. What a great performance. Big time players play big in big games.
And that's what Union High's Matt Stanley did. Matt Stanley, 5'10", 180-pound senior wide receiver, outside linebacker. 13 carries for 35 yards, a touchdown, which is on a 4-yard run. That put Union up 24-14. He added a 14-yard pick six with 6:54 left, and that put the Scotties up 30-21, and they salted it away from there, winning 30-28. Matt Stanley had 6.5 tackles in the game, 5 of which were solo stops, as Union, a 10 seed, knocked off 2 seed Laurel 30-28.
What a great game. Two Tri-County teams. What a great performance by Matt Stanley. Not so much in the statistics. If you look at the statistics, you'd say, you know, what's the big deal here? He ran for 35 yards. He had a TD from 4 yards out. But the play of the game was the pick six. I had a chance to see it because it was on social media. It was on Twitter. I think Lawrence County Sportsnet put it up there. And it was just a great play. And it was the play of the game. And it was probably the defining moment in the game between two great football teams, two great teams. Mike Gunn sent me a text. I think the night before the game, you know, his son, Mike Gunn, plays on a team. And he asked the question, can we win? And my answer is always the same. If you believe you can, you will. And he sent me a text 2 o'clock in the morning the next night. We believed. It was a great game. Sorry to see Laurel, you know, lose. They had a great season. And again, you know, 14 seniors on the team, as I read. Landon Smith, another 200-yard game. The kid's fabulous. So we're going to talk about that a little bit later. But, you know, Matt Stanley's a big-time player. He's a great basketball player. His dad's the basketball coach. His dad, Mark's been he was a great athlete in his day. So it doesn't surprise me that one of the Stanley boys make the play of the game in what for them, up until this point, is the biggest game of the year.
Yeah, and to use a basketball analogy, Larry, being the basketball guy that you are, Matt Stanley is a fantastic basketball player. He's playing football for the first time in his high school career. And you mentioned his stats, you know, maybe not the greatest of individual stats, but in basketball, you're told you got to bring it on both ends of the court. Well, football, he did Friday night on both sides of the ball. He played very well on offense and very good on defense, as evident by the tackles that he made and the pick six that he had.
The pick six was enormous. It was just an enormous play. And again, I said the play of the game that really turned that game around. And but that's what big time players do. When the chips are down and you need for them to make a play, they make it. And he's made a boatload of them on the basketball court. And now he has one that he can chalk up in his football career. Just a big time play that really turned the game around.
Absolutely. That is Matt Stanley, our athlete of the week, for his 35 yards rushing and a touchdown, an enormous pick six late in the game, and his 6.5 tackles, 5 of which being solo stops. Union is now 9-3 overall, bound for the WPIAL semifinals for the first time since 1979. Athlete of the week, Matt Stanley, will be back right here on Gridiron to tell you about the semifinals. Don't go anywhere.
There's one thing I learned growing up around here. People should look out for each other, be friends and neighbors that you can count on. So it bothers me when people who are hurt in automobile accidents get bullied by the insurance company. I don't let bullies run over my clients. I do what I was taught growing up. Step up, stand up, and speak up for those who can't. I'm Larry Kelly, and I'm a Newcastle guy.
Okay, we're back with you here on Gridiron and Larry. Last week we had history made in Lawrence County, as last week was the first time 2 county teams butted heads in the playoffs as Laurel took on Union. That game was at Shenango High School, and game for the ages. It came right down to the wire. 30-28 was the final score. Union upset Laurel, a 10 seed beating a 2 seed, and regular season it ended up going the other way. It was 28-22 Laurel in overtime. Larry, fans certainly got their money's worth last week, despite the terrible conditions that they may have had to sit through.
I mean, 2 evenly matched teams. I understand from reading the game stories, there was a nice crowd there to watch the game, and 2 really evenly matched teams. We talk about Landon Smith. We talked about him all year. He ran the ball for over 200 yards again, and a little bit of a statistical, I should say, a statistical anomaly. I'm going to use a big word in this game because I've always said if you control the line of scrimmage, you got a pretty good chance to win the football game. Laurel ran the ball for 293 yards, holding Union to 143 yards rushing. They outgained them 2-1. Normally, when that happens, you are on the winning side of the scoreboard. But the one thing that was really, I think, that boded well for Union, and again, when you look at the statistics, Braylon Thomas, 10 for 18, 211 yards passing, a couple touchdown passes. So, that kind of evened the statistical game out. But again, normally you outrush a team 2-1. You're going to win the game. You're going to win the game because you control the clock. You're going to win the game because you've controlled the line of scrimmage. You're going to win the game because the defensive players on the other team just get tired. But it didn't happen in this one. So a little bit of a statistical anomaly, but Union's been resilient all year. Essentially,
What Lawrence County fans were treated to last week was the 1980s San Diego Chargers facing off against the 1980s Washington Redskins, with the rushing attack of the Redskins against an aerial circus with the Chargers, and both would have had success in their own right. And it just came down to one aspect of the game working a little bit better than the other, but not by much.
No. I mean, it was evenly matched. And again, the play of the game was the interception by Stanley with 6 minutes left to go in the game that made it a 2-score game, or else this score might have been different. Laurel may have won the game. I mean, Landon Smith, according to my had 4 touchdowns in the game. And again, he ran the ball for over 200 yards. It might have been like 250 or something. So the young man, once again, was just magnificent. And Laurel had a great season, and they lose a tough game, and they lose the game to, a tri-county foe, which back in my day, Ronnie, those were great matchups. Those tri-county games were great matchups. And this one was no different.
Yeah. Imagine, Larry, take you back in time, but not too far back in time. Last year, you have Luke McCoy, who rushes for 30 touchdowns, sets a single season record at Laurel, graduates, and he's thinking, and a lot of people are thinking, that number's out there. That's going to last a while. Guess what? Landon Thomas went into this game with 30 touchdowns. They were dead even, and he scored 4 more. So
right.
Landon Thomas essentially said, "Here, hold my Gatorade. I'm gonna break that record." That's crazy for Luke McCoy to have the 30 touchdowns that he did, and it lasted about 365 days.
Right.
So that tells you what kind of Landon Smith had.
Landon Smith, yeah, you called him Landon Thomas. You were thinking about Braylon Thomas, but Landon Smith, 34 touchdowns. He carried the ball 32 times for 249 yards in a rainstorm. He's a magnificent player. That was a magnificent team. They're well coached. I read Coach Cooper's comments after the game. Classy head coach, had nothing but good things to say, not only about his team, but about Laurel also. It's tough to lose those games. You work hard, you're together all year, and then all of a sudden it's over in the blink of an eye. And, Coach Cooper, not only did his team stand tall, but he stood tall also after the loss. And but that's what you would expect from Brian Cooper. He's a classy young man, and his team reflects, his class year in and year out.
Yeah, like we were talking last week when I mentioned Union's playing with house money. They're a 10 seed. All the pressure's on Laurel. Second year in a row that Laurel makes the quarterfinals. Last year, I believe it was Sarah Catholic or Greensburg Central Catholic. One of those teams went into Laurel and beat them 6-0. So all the chips are down. All the pressure's on Laurel. Got to get past this round. You're the better seed. Union had no pressure on them, and they were able to come in there and play like that. And, they threw the kitchen sink at them, from what I hear, and got the job done.
I wouldn't say they had no pressure. I would certainly say they were the underdog and maybe felt a little less pressure than Laurel did. But Kim Nigbala's team came to play, and his Braylon Thomas is a tremendous athlete, and Mike Gunn's a tremendous athlete. And, Union is a force to be reckoned with. They got a big game against Rochester. It was a low-scoring game last time, and should be a great game next week. But yeah, 2 Tri-County teams going at it. Great game, well attended, and it's just I guess it's a credit to Lawrence County football.
Yeah, and quickly, as you mentioned in our break, let's talk about Neshannock, Washington. Neshannock built a 30-13 lead, 6:09 left in regulation, and I thought it was over. When I tweeted an update, I said Neshannock puts the game away. They're up 30-13. Next thing you know, 30-23, 30-19, I believe it was, and then 30-27. It was right there. I mean, there was 3-something left, and they kicked off. If they get a stop there, who knows? But I think they had one running play, and then the next running play, Johnny Huff went 47 yards right up the gut, put the game away. At that point, Washington was out of timeouts, and they were able to salt the game away.
It was a great game. Neshannock played a great game. They ran the ball for 281 yards. Again, Washington about 177. There wasn't much passing by either team in this game. But again, considering the weather conditions, that wasn't unexpected. That's what makes what Union did kind of so impressive, in that they hit 10 passes and for 211 yards. So that was pretty impressive performance through the air by the Scotties. But yeah, Neshannock controlled the line of scrimmage. That's what they've been doing all year. And, you know, if you look at it from a statistical analysis, game in and game out, if you control the line of scrimmage, you win the game. Now, the one thing that I think maybe made Coach Mazaka a little nuts, they fumbled the ball 5 times. And again, a lot of that had something to do with the weather, I'm sure. They only lost one of those fumbles, but you can't put it on the ground 5 times and win moving forward. They're in the semifinals now against Still Valley. That's going to be Neshannock. They'll need to play their best game, and you can't put it on the ground 5 times. So, but other than that, it was a typical Neshannock performance. On the ground, dominated the line of scrimmage. They only had 32 passing yards, but when you run it for 281, yeah, you're going to win a lot of games.
There's one thing I learned growing up around here. People should look out for each other. Be friends and neighbors that you can count on. So it bothers me when people who are hurt in automobile accidents get bullied by the insurance company. I don't let bullies run over my clients. I do what I was taught growing up. Step up, stand up, and speak up for those who can't. I'm Larry Kelly, and I'm a Newcastle guy.
First off, number 10 seed Union, which is 9-3 overall, will take on number 14 seed Rochester, which is 7-4. And that is at 7 p.m. Friday night at Freedom. Again, Class 1A playoffs. And Larry, you know, you get to the playoffs at this stage. I'm going to look at my 1A bracket. Probably in a perfect world, if all the seeds won the way they would or they should in terms of their seeding, that would be a 2 versus a 3 on this side of the bracket. Instead, we have 10 versus 14. So that just goes to show you how good these teams are that got into the playoffs and taking care of business along the way.
Yeah, in a normal year, Union would not be a 10, and I can guarantee you Rochester would not be a 14. You know, Rochester has football and championship pedigree. Gene Matzuk, the coach, was a Shenango High graduate. I was still a teacher back when Gene was playing at Shenango. It's going to be a great game. 6-0. Union wins last time, so the teams know each other. They have film on each other. But I would be surprised if the Scotties are held to 6 points again. That would be surprising to me. Their offense is too explosive, you know, Braylon Thomas and Mike Gunn and those young men are just too much speed. You know, you give them a little daylight, and those guys take it to the house. So I like Union in this one. They're going to be a favorite. This first time probably in the playoff run where they would be a favorite. But you can't sleep on Rochester. Championship pedigree. That team has been there and done that. So this ought to be a great game.
How much value or how many points is that worth theoretically? The championship pedigree, the coaching experience, maybe even the playoff experience for the players compared to Union 2017, the last time they were in the postseason. Kim Needball, the first time he's a head coach. However, he was an assistant, you know, on a state title team. So, granted, you know, what Gene Matzuk's done, you know, over his course of his career, and then Kim Needball of the short tenure. How much does that weigh in the pedigree, as you mentioned?
It's culture. It's culture. And when I talk about championship pedigree, Rochester, notwithstanding their 14th seed, is going into this game expecting to win because they've been there and done it before. And I read a great quote the other day that said, most games are won or lost before the national anthem is finished playing. In other words, if you believe you can, if you go in there expecting to win, you're probably going to win. If you are going in there hoping to win rather than expecting to win, it's a completely different ball game, you know. And the analogy that I'll use, Newcastle basketball, we go into every game expecting to win. If we don't win, we're shocked. And I'm trying to develop that same culture at Shenango baseball, you know. We won 21 games in a row. We went into every game expecting to win. There was no doubt in the minds of those young men that they were going to win when they put their uniform on. So that's what Rochester has going for them. They're going into this game expecting to win. And like I told Mike Gunn Sr., if Union has the belief, if they're going into this game expecting to win and not just hoping to win, there's a pretty good chance they're going to come out with a victory and be playing in the WPIAL championship in 2 weeks.
Yeah, it certainly helps the fact that they know they can beat them. They did it once before. So they have that going for them for sure. Let's talk about Braylon Thomas. Braylon Thomas, quarterback, multi-talented quarterback in his arm and his legs. 189 carries for 1,336 yards, Larry, and 17 touchdowns. Through the air, Braylon Thomas is 63 of 134 for 1,011 yards, 8 touchdowns, 12 interceptions. I tell you what, he's fun to watch. I've seen a lot of their games. When the play seems like it's breaking down, that's not advantage defense. That's advantage Union, because he can get out and scramble and pick up the yardage.
That is when he is most dangerous. You know, when the play breaks down, that is when he is most dangerous. And defenders lose their containment. You know, you lose your gaps. You know, that's kind of what makes a lot of great players so dangerous. Patrick Mahomes is most dangerous, the quarterback for the Kansas City Chiefs, when the play breaks down and he scrambles a little bit. And he can either run for a first down, or, you know, guys lose their coverage, they lose their containment, and somebody's wide open. This Braylon Thomas, you better keep your containment on him. Same with Johnny Huff from Neshannock. When the play breaks down, those two young men are dangerous because of their athleticism, their vision, and their ability to make things happen in those situations.
Yeah, and they have good running backs, Dane Jonke and Mike Gunn. Mike Gunn also very talented at what he does. Maddox Thompson catching the ball from Braylon Thomas. So, yeah, Union's going to pose a threat for sure. And the winner from that game moves on to meet the winner of top seed Bishop Canevin and 5th seed Southside Beaver. So we got 4 teams in the semifinals, and 3 of them are from the Big 7 conference, Larry. That tells you an awful lot about the conference play.
Yeah, it does. Yeah. And they're public schools too. You know, don't get me started on public-private school stuff again, because I don't know anything about Bishop Canevin, but if I were a betting man, I'm not, but you are, I'd bet that the team that Bishop Canevin puts on the field is fielding players from several different school districts. And that's just the advantage that the private schools have. But one step at a time, survive in advance, as the late, great Jimmy Valvano used to say, in playoff one and done action. And Union, they're only worried about Rochester. And again, I look for a higher scoring game on Friday because Union's too explosive. And quite frankly, I'm looking for a Union victory. I really think they're going to do it.
All right. And the championship is Friday, November 25th, or the day after Thanksgiving. That is 11 a.m. at Acrisure Stadium. Let's move over now to Class 2A. And we have Neshannock, which is your number 4 seed. Neshannock is 11-1, and they're going to take on top seed Steel Valley, which is 10-0. That is 7 p.m. Friday night at Montour, again, Class 2A playoffs. And Larry, Neshannock's only blemish on their schedule was that 22-0 home loss to Beaver Falls. And they've certainly put that in the rearview mirror and are playing awfully good football at the right time of the season.
You got to believe you can win. You got to believe you can win. Now, Steel Valley has pedigree. The last time these two teams played was in 2016 in the championship game. Steel Valley wins 49-14. You got to believe you can win. You got to make your team believe you can win. And there's some great coaches at Neshannock, and I'm sure they're telling their team, you know, like I would be telling them how good we are. And look, these guys, Steel Valley thinks they're going to walk on us. I don't think so. I told you what I did the day before we played Seton LaSalle in the WPIAL championship game. Seton LaSalle had 5 Division I baseball players on a team, but I got to get my team to believe. So we're having a pep rally. And, after I introduced my players, I got up on the microphone and I told our athletic director, Jan Budai, in front of about 500 people, that I wanted him to call the athletic director from Seton LaSalle and let him know two things. First of all, we're going to show up tomorrow. In case he thinks we're not coming, we're going to be there. And I also told him to tell the athletic director that Seton LaSalle better have their big boy pants on, because we're coming to win. We're coming to win the gold. And if I'm Coach Mazaka, that's what I'm telling my team. I'm getting them fired up. I'm telling them we're coming to win. And they better have their big boy pants on, because I'm sure when you read the Post-Gazette, Mike White, just as he did when we played in the Whipple championship game, is going to say that Still Valley's a prohibitive favorite. And maybe they are. But I think the Lancers are going to show up, man. And I'm going to tell you something. This team is tough. They're tough. They control the line of scrimmage. They got a great coaching staff. I'm a little biased because they're all Newcastle guys, man. There's all Coach Mangino, Coach Hassan, Coach Kane, Coach DePorzio, Coach Mazaka. Keep going. They're all Newcastle guys. And, those guys grew up in an area when they didn't back down from anybody. So I'm pulling for the Lancers. I'd love to see them take care of Still Valley. And, listen, if they do what they've done all year, and that's control the line of scrimmage, they will take care of Still Valley on Friday night.
Let's not forget about Frank Bongivingo Jr. Come on now, Larry.
Oh, yeah,
You
Bongi.
mentioned
You know what? You're right.
Yeah.
My man, Bongi. Forgive me, Bongi. Bongi's dad was coaching out there until a year or two ago. Right, yeah, Frank Bongivingo, sure. There's a bunch of Newcastle guys out there, all of whom have Newcastle football pedigree, and back when Newcastle football pedigree was really impressive. So I'm pulling for the Lancers. I think they can do it. I really, really do, even though I'm sure Still Valley's probably going to be the favorite in that game.
Just as an aside, after the game last week, when I was on the field for the interviews, boy, Neshannock was fired up. When they heard that they were playing Still Valley, you could sense that the coaches were extremely excited. The players were. They're going to be ready. I think they were ready that night. I think if they could have got on a bus and went to wherever Still Valley was, they would be ready to play that game Friday night. They're going to be ready this coming Friday.
I think the biggest job a coach has in a game like this is make his players believe, get them to believe that they're going to go down there and win that game. And, they got some tough kids. Johnny Huff's a tough kid. Matt Iannelli's a tough kid. He ran for three touchdowns last week. They got some tough kids on this team. And, I'm looking for the Lancers to bring it home. I really am. I really, really am. And then maybe a rematch with Beaver Falls. Wouldn't that be great?
Yeah. Because on the other side of the bracket, you have 2-seed Beaver Falls and 3-seed Stowe Rocks. So the winner of Neshannock Still Valley plays the 2-3 winner of Beaver Falls Still Valley, Beaver Falls Stowe Rocks, and that'll be 2 p.m. November 25th, or just not a whole lot longer after the 1A game that same day. Larry, Johnny Huff, read you a little bit of his numbers. Neshannock quarterback, he's got 184 carries, 1,748 yards, 24 touchdowns, 89 of 187 through the air for 1,099 yards, 11 touchdowns, just 2 interceptions. Very accurate, throwing the ball, vision, running the ball, whatever he does. That's a very potent offense that can probably, I don't want to say sleepwalk to 30 points, but that's a very normal occurrence for Neshannock to just be able to walk out there and say, we're going to put at least 30 on the board.
They control the line of scrimmage. Those guys on the offensive line control the line of scrimmage, and it allows guys like Iannelli, Jackson Billick, that's a Newcastle name, had a 44-yard touchdown run last week. If you control the line of scrimmage, you can beat anybody. And that's what they've done all year. So, Coach Mazaka, make your team believe, brother. if there's a pep rally, tell the athletic director out there to call the athletic director from Steel Valley and let them know that the Lancers are going to show up on Friday, that they're going to be there, just in case they think maybe they're not coming.
All right. Well, we know where Larry stands. I believe he's got Union and Neshannock going to be playing for gold a week from Friday. But first up, these teams have business to take care of on Friday night. Conference rematch with Union and Rochester, and then one for the ages with Neshannock and Steel Valley, a 1-4 matchup. Well, hopefully we get a lot better weather Friday night. Hopefully it's not played in the monsoon, essentially, which is more or less what it was last week. It was steady through most of the game. I think there was a period where it led up to the point where it stopped, but not for too long. And then these kids had to play. But that's football weather, It's what we expect. I mean, that's why we play through November and in some cases at some point into December when the championships are. Otherwise, we would start not in August and finish in first weekend of October and be done with it.
Right. And again, that's why it's so important to be able to run the football when the weather is bad. They talk about it at all levels, whether it's the NFL or Pop Warner football. When the weather gets bad and you can't throw it, you got to be able to run it. And Neshannock's done it all year. Union's done it well all year. That'll be the key Friday night.
All right. Anything else you want to say, Larry?
No, man. I'm fired up and ready to go. I'm fired up. I might have to go out there and give a pep talk to the boys this week. I might have to go out there. Not that anybody would hand me a microphone. That would probably be a bad idea. But I'm fired up and ready to go. And, I have nothing to do with it other than to watch it. So I'll be rooting for our local teams. And I got a good feeling, Ronnie. I just got a good feeling about these two teams.
All right. Well, we wish the very best of luck to our student athletes and our coaching staffs and the student bodies, the communities as a whole. It's not easy to get to this level of the postseason, the semifinals, and playing for the right to play at Acrisure Stadium. The avenue to Acrisure is upon us. Again, best of luck to everybody. We'll be back here next week to talk, hopefully, championship preview football, and we will do that next week. He's Larry Kelly, and I'm Ron Poniewasz. Thank you for joining us, everyone, and we will see you back here on Gridiron next week.